Interviewing John D. Ringlehan, interviewed by James Calandra and Christina Johnson, January 18th.
You want my best or my worst or down the middle? Is there audio being recorded on this?
Yeah,
I'm in trouble.
go ahead.
Okay. Where were you born?
Campbell Hall, New York. Campbell, New York, which is in Orange County, which is down in the southern tier for your information.
What was your education before the war?
High school graduate.
Did you enlist?
I was drafted.
Where did you go for basic training?
Miami Beach, Florida.
What were you trained to do?
Well, after basic training, I was sent to Scott Field Air Force Base in Belleville, Illinois, for radio operator training, airborne radio operator training. If you want me to amplify anything for your notes, just say so. You want me to spell that out for you?
It's okay.
That was Scott Field Air Force Base, Belleville, just like it sounds, Illinois. Okay? And that was airborne radio operator school.
Did you ever have to do anything you weren't trained to do?
No, except bail out an airplane. We weren't trained for that.
What locations were you in?
You want the States and overseas or just overseas?
Do both.
Well, I went from Scott Field to Tyndall Field Gunnery School, Tyndall Air Force Base. That's Tyndall. That was Airborne Gunnery School. And that was in Florida. Then I went from there. I went to let's see, where did we go from there? We went to Westover Air Force Base. To be crewed up on a B-24 crew. And from there we went to after we crewed up there, we went to let me think about it now. What was the name of that base in Georgia? Anyway, I went to Savannah, Georgia. That was the next stop for crew training. From there we went to Mitchell Field, New York, which is on Long Island. We picked up our brand new B-24 there and headed overseas. From there we went to I'm trying to think of that base in Georgia. I didn't think I'd ever forget that. From there we went to Morrison Field, Florida, which was our POE, which is Port of Embarkation, but the abbreviation is P period O period E period. That was Morrison Field, Florida. And from there we went to Ramey Air Force Base, Puerto Rico. And from there we went to Trinidad, the island Trinidad. Then we went to Belém, South America. Then we went to Dakar, Dakar, in North Africa. And from there we went to Tunis, which was on the northern tip of the African continent. And from there we went to our combat base in Italy, which was a 456 bomb group. And then we started flying our combat missions. We flew, I flew 26 sorties and 19 missions. I was on my 19th mission when I got shot down. And the reason I tell you this, young lady, is because this doesn't coincide with this, but this is what we got credit for, and that was because of the time. If we flew over like 6 or 8 hours or something like that, they give us credit for 2 missions versus 1. Okay? So that's the disparity there. And I was shot down. You want to go on with this here? Is that what you want, or you want to go on to the next question?
Do you want to continue with these?
Well, yeah, I was shot down for the archives. I was shot down over the Ploesti oil fields of Romania. And that was Polesti, oil fields of Romania. Now that was a big one. That was the big oil fields, like something like Saudi Arabia. And from there I ended up in prison camp.
When was your first experience in combat?
What was my first experience? Our first mission was bombing a Italian airfield in northern Italy. And it was kind of a misdemeanor because there was no flak and no fighters, so it was very misleading as far as what combat was all about.
What was your everyday life like?
Living in tents in an olive grove in Italy in the summer of 1944. That's what everyday life was all about. And flying combat missions.
What unit were you assigned to?
The 456 Bomb Group, 744th Bomb Squadron. And they call that a heavy bomber group because the B-24s and B-17s were the biggest ones they had at that time.
What was your unit like?
Well, to be honest, I wasn't there long enough to really know because I was only there probably about 3 weeks when they transferred me out to the 451st Bomb Group, which was the outfit I was in when I was shot down. Excuse me.
Was there anyone who you remember best from your service?
Yeah, well, of course, being on an air crew, you remember everybody on the air crew because you trained together, went overseas together, and flew combat together. But because they split up our crew, they took off the bombardier and myself off the crew and sent us to another outfit. The one person I really remember the most was what was Bob? Bob was an armor gunner, Bob Ayers, Ayers. And I'm not correcting you there, I just want you to have it right. He was armor gunner. He was shot down over southern France, and he was in prison camp for about 14 months. That's because they split the crew up, and they went one way and I went the other.
What happened after your aircraft was shot down?
Well, after I jumped out of the airplane, I pulled a delayed jump. and I ended up in a river, landed in a river. I finally give myself up, and they took me to it was a little bitty town, about, I say town, hamlet of about 15 houses. And there they had, they put us in a, what they call a jail. And the next day they transported us by ox cart to a railhead, which was about 35 miles from where we landed.
How long were you behind enemy lines until you were captured?
I beg your pardon?
How long were you behind enemy lines till you were captured?
42 days.
Who captured you?
Pardon?
Do you know who captured you?
Yes, it was the Romanians. It was captured by the Romanian, what they called back then, gendarmes or police.
How were you treated?
We were treated very well.
How,
Food wasn't worth a darn because we didn't have any. It was mostly soup. Soup and bread that they... That's about it.
how were you freed?
Pardon?
How were you freed?
The Russians come down from the north. We were liberated by the Russians.
What experience do you feel left the greatest impression on you?
Jumping out of the airplane.
Did you receive any decorations or medals?
Just the Air Medal and the European Theater of Operations Medal. The Air Medal with 3 stars.
Was there any certain reason for that? Was there any certain reasons for the medals?
Well, the Air Medal because you flew 5+ combat missions. And this was the European Theater of Operations ribbon is what that was.
What was your life like after the war?
Fun and games. Till I grew up.
Is there anything else about the war experience you want to talk about?
Well, just that combat, you know, everybody on the crew, the oldest person on the crew was only 26. All the rest of us, and he was a pilot. All the rest of us was 18, 19, and 20 years old. So, I mean, what do you know at 18, 19, 20 years old? You know, you're scared to death in combat because, you know, you don't have any idea what to expect other than what other guys tell you when you come into the outfit. So you're scared to death because you don't know until you fly your first few missions, and then you get an idea that it isn't fun and games anymore. It's a life and death situation, and that was just very, very scary. And anybody that ever had been in combat that was in combat where it was under fire, and they say that they weren't scared, I want to meet them because there's no such thing.
What's your feeling on the recent terrorist events?
Well, I think most of it, I don't say we brought it on ourselves. The only thing is the United States is so complacent that they invite this kind of reaction from radical people. And it's so sad that we have to learn a lesson to this degree in such a manner, only because we believe in turning the other cheek. You know what I mean? You know, they hit us once. Lockerbie, Scotland was a good example. We didn't take any action after that. Oh, you know, and the people right now are, you know, just heard it on TV this morning. They're complaining about they got to wait in line for 3 hours to get their bags packed or checked. Okay, So what do? Some guy, some clown, some one of these radicals comes on board with bombs and the thing, and they don't want to wait to get this guy separated off the crew, off the plane with his baggage, because he's got bombs on board. You know, this is, and until we crack down, we're going to have problems. And when I mean crack down, the American people is going to have to learn what death from these people is all about, like the Israelis. You know, it's just a tough situation, and it's not fun and games. They're playing for keeps. They want to change the world, and they will if we don't change our ways. I mean, it's like trying to catch Bin Laden. To me, they may catch him, but it'll be years from now. It won't be tomorrow. It won't be the next day. It won't be next month. And the American people better get used to the idea that this is going to be a long, hard struggle. Just like it was a long, hard struggle to beat communism. It's the same way it's going to be with these people here. They don't give up easy because they're taught from, they're taught from childhood to hate the Americans. So how are you going to change that overnight? You don't. How we doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
Pardon? Pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all the questions.
Is there anything else at all?
Well, just I think this is a great task that you kids have put together and are helping to put in the archives, because it's right now I'm writing not my memoir, but I'm just writing a history from the day that little town down in southern Ontario that I'm putting down for my family, because we got 7 children and 20 grandchildren, and so I'm putting it all together from them, so they'll know what it's all about. That it isn't fun and games. It's serious business, and you've got to have the military to protect us from these people that want to change our lifestyle. And one of the sad things is they don't teach you young people what the World War II was all about, and until they do, you won't understand it. I mean, can you imagine kids eating out of garbage cans while you're in mess tent, while you're eating whatever you're eating, and they're eating out of a garbage can? You can't imagine that, and you can't until you actually see it. And this is so sad, because you people have been protected all your lives, which is no more than right under the way we live. But you have to get to the other side of the world to see what life really is all about. And until they send some groups of you people over there to these impoverished nations, you don't understand it. You can read it all day long, but it goes in and goes out, and it doesn't stay. But if you can see it one time, we are the most wasteful nation in the world. If we don't like it, we throw it away. If it don't work, we don't fix it, we throw it away. And that's the mentality of our engineers and all of our people. And you young people grow up with this stuff, and you think that's the way to do it. And that's so wasteful. People, I mean, we throw more food away in this country on a daily basis than the rest of the world. You can't believe what these people would do for that crust of bread that you're throwing away, or that half a hot dog. You can't believe it because you've never seen it. If you'd seen it, you'd change your ways, and we would change our ways. Even though we are, we're the most charitable country in the world. We give stuff to everybody. And that's good, and that's great, because we do have an abundance of food and what have you. But to give it to them, and they don't know what it is. Like right now, they're dropping these what they call it, military readiness meals or something. That come on board after I left. We were used to the old sea rations and stuff like that. So they're dropping all this stuff over there to the Afghanistans, and they throw it away because they don't know what it is. I mean, if they don't know what peanut butter is, you ain't going to eat it because you don't know whether it's good or bad. So they're chucking it aside. And we do things like this unknowingly because we don't do our homework ahead of time. We think if it's good for us, it ought to be good for them, and that's not so. In other words, until you find out what their daily intake of food is and the type of food, like the Chinese, you wouldn't give them hot dogs, you'd give them rice. And it's the same way over there. They would rather have a bag of flour than they would a case of bread. But they make their own bread. They don't need you to do this. So it's easier to drop them 10 pounds of flour than it is a case of bread. But this is one of our problems. We don't do our homework good enough. Like, I'll give you an example. In Vietnam, the number one is a less desired number of, say, a division. You're the 1st Air Cav or something like that, Vietnamese. They hated it. Because in their thinking, their lifestyle, the way they were brought up, number 1 is the worst. Number 10 is the best. Okay? So what do? We force on them to call the Vietnamese, and I think it was Air Cavalry, the 1st Air Cav. And they hated it. Because we didn't do our homework. If we'd have told them, okay, let's number this number 10, they'd have been smiles from ear to ear. But not us. We tell them it's got to be number 1. Because we didn't do any homework. We didn't understand their philosophy. We didn't understand anything about them, really. Other than the fact they're human beings like us, trying to be independent from the North Vietnamese. You know, we're so good, but we don't do enough background to overcome, and it creates deficiencies in our own ability to help these people. And that's, they call us the ugly Americans, and that's the reason. We don't do it intentionally, we do it unknowingly, because, we don't have, like the Afghanistans, we don't have anybody that's really steeped in their culture. We don't have anybody. We really don't have anybody who knows that much about Muslims. And so this is all a shortcoming for us. And until we learn all this stuff, like I just found out something the other day that I never understood and never would unless somebody on the boob tube brought it up. In Afghanistan, their belief is that if you are invited into your house, once that person is in that house, it's your responsibility to protect this person, feed him, and take care of him until he leaves. So until he leaves your house, you're not going to go down to a police station and say, I've got Ben Laden in my front room, because that's not part of their culture. Their culture is it's your responsibility to take care of this guy until he leaves. Once he's off your premises, out of your house, then you do anything you want to. But as long as he's in there, you're going to take care of him. So how are we ever going to catch him? How are we ever going to catch this guy? We're not. We will maybe eventually, but it's going to be a long time. That's it. Do we have enough time?
Yeah.
Do we?